Testing? Is this thing on? Oh, what's up, Orange Cab Brewery? It has been so long since I made any sort of podcast or video content for you guys. I've actually been in the works on upgrading our podcast studio now that we own a house and an actual brew room instead of a brew closet. And so I'm really excited about the new podcast setup that's going to be coming here very soon as I get my bar installed. But I've been reading a lot of articles lately on some beer trends of 2026 and what to expect. And I figured, why not take some time and actually share my thoughts from Orange Cab Brewery on what you can expect in 2026 on the beer market. So with that, let's dive in.
The number you have dialed has been changed.
Actually, before we dive in, today's video is sponsored by Hamm's Beer. It is the beer that is refreshing and the thing that I had in my fridge. If you're from Midwest, you probably enjoy a good Hamm's every once in a while, like we do here at Orange Cab Brewery. Cheers. So this is a beer podcast channel, so let's obviously start off with a seltzer because that is certainly a beer, right? However, I do think seltzers have blown up a lot in the last few years, but I don't think 2026 is the year for them. I think they've had their run. I think they've really exploded. Everybody's kind of tried them. I think people are just kind of getting over them now. I think they're overrated. I don't think they're that popular anymore. I think they're going to be on the downcline on 2026. However, they still are around. They're still going to be popular. You're probably going to find at least one or two in every single brewery you go to. They're always going to be here. But that kind of leads into another funky design drink that's not also beer related, but the THC drink. They have obviously exploded. You see them on almost every corner now, some sort of THC marijuana infused drink. More and more breweries I'm finding have these. I think it's the same thing. I think it's going to be a lot of hype in 2025 in the last few years. I think they're going to hit a peak in 2026, and I think they're just kind of fade. I think there are going to be around, there is a lot of articles and statistics saying people are drinking less nowadays, and the THC is the new come up. I do think that is kind of true. However, I think they're going to hit a limit sometime in 2026, and you're going to find them at probably every brewery, but I don't think they're going to take over any other of the more important beer styles that we'll get to. Which, speaking of getting to, let's talk about the most important beer style of all, the IPA. Probably the most popular beer in the craft beer industry. What is it like? What is it going to be doing in 2026? I don't really know. I mean, I feel like I can never pinpoint exactly what IPAs are going to do year over year. They aren't going away. They're not really increasing. However, I will say the heavier IPAs, the doubles, the triples, those things, those are on the decline, unfortunately. As much as I love them, they are just not very popular. However, I will say those session IPAs, they're always going to be trendy. They're light ABV, easy, clean, simple beers to drink. If you're getting into the craft beer industry or you're looking for just a chill evening session, a session IPA that's a little bit easier to drink is always going to be popular. I mean, heck, my mom would choose a session IPA over any other style IPA out there. I think that's saying a lot about the trend of what people are kind of going to, and that is something a little bit more lighter, simple, and not crazy like I said earlier, a double IPA that has like 4 different fruit flavors in it. But that does get into what can we expect for 2026. I think ever since COVID, light beers such as lagers or pilsners or kolsches have always been really popular since then. Maybe it's just because it was hard to go to a brewery and it was easier to go to a store. And what do you find at the store? It's probably going to be a domestic beer. And so I think those beers are going to continue to do really well. I think you're going to see a lot more of those at breweries, actually. I think they're going to be making a lot more lagers, maybe infuse a little bit of different ingredients or different flavors into those kind of pilsner and Kolsch style beers to make it kind of funky and still unique. But I think those are going to be really popular and will continue to be popular for this year. And along the lines of easy drinking things, I do think sours are really going to take off in 2026. Not the pastry style sours that are very heavy and 10% plus ABV. I'm talking like the normal day-to-day sours, not the ones that burn your tongue with acid, but the things that are just a little bit easier to drink, more fruit flavor. I would imagine more breweries in 2026 are going to have more sours on tap than they have in the years past. Now, I can't leave out my friend Drew Staub's favorite style of beer, which is the porter and the stout. Those are always going to be around. There's such a niche following of those kind of beers, and it could be in the middle of summer, 90 degrees, and there's going to be that one guy at the brewery drinking a brown ale or a porter or something like that. So yeah, I think those darker beers are always going to be around. I love them. I think a lot of people out there love them. They are such a loyal following, so they're going to be at your breweries. Don't worry about that. Now, what about like gimmick style beers? I mean, a few years ago, you could walk into a brewery and order some vanilla triple sour IPA, and like that doesn't even make any sense. Like you could walk in and order something with like 10 different flavors in it. I don't think those are really around. If they are still around, I don't think breweries are really brewing them anymore because I think they were kind of a one and done. one, once you've tried one crazy concoction, you're probably not going to go and get a second or third or fourth one for that matter. However, the one exception is Drecker up in Fargo, North Dakota. I think those guys built their entire brand on crazy funky beer styles. I think those guys, I mean, they probably are more successful now than they ever have been. I don't think those guys are going anywhere. So if you built your name and your brand around some funky beer styles, I think you guys are going to be fine. However, I think the breweries that don't really specialize in that probably aren't even doing it anymore if they are still. So I think that is going to kind of be going away of anything that's just out of the ordinary kind of nonsense. I still like them because I think they're kind of fun. I will still definitely order something, especially if it says, a triple IPA sour premium lager. I'd be very fascinated by that. I'd probably be ordering that. So overall, I do think the 2026 year is going to be a pretty exciting year for the craft beer industry. I don't think we're going to see anything too unique or anything blow up and just really surprise us in 2026. But I do think as people start to trend towards more of the lighter, easier, cleaner drinking beers, I think we're going to see more of those on our tap list at our breweries. I think we might not see as many IPAs this year. I do think the brown ales and stouts will stay the same. I do think sours will increase. And I think the lager style Kolsch easy drinking beers will start to kind of creep up on our tap list a little bit more. But overall, I'm really excited for what the year has to hold. There you have it, guys. That is the 2026 year prediction. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I'm going to be making more podcasts here in the next few months as we get that podcast studio set up. We're going to be trying all sorts of different beers. We're going to be brewing some cool beers this summer. So stay tuned for that. In the meantime, guys, cheers.
Looks like, oh my gosh, have you seen this? That guy looks straight up like Levi. You guys seen this too?
That looks just like me. Look at that guy.
It's like,